What do you think a lot of people thinking about Post Malone has made Ozzy Osbourne famous? Says Camping Meerkat. So yeah, Ozzy is on one of Post Malone's new songs. It's probably my favourite song on that record. There's about 5 or 6 tracks on that one that I really like, and I think it's the Ozzy one I like the most. Now, Ozzy's voice is absolutely iconic, and it's so cool, like, his voice can be introduced again to a young generation. However, I haven't looked into it, but I've heard all about this whole, apparently young people are like, oh, Post Malone's discovered Ozzy Osbourne and all of this. I can't help but feel that's like orchestrated trolling. Something to me just says, nah, I don't think they're gonna like hear this voice. I don't know, and like not type in Ozzy Osbourne in a search engine or look for his stuff elsewhere and then realize, this like many like Sharon Osbourne is like a household name, right? I mean, I've heard funny stories about how she's almost more famous than Ozzy in some circles, right? Silver Millsy says it's an absolute troll, and it's not the first time it's happened with various new and older artists. Yeah, well, whatever your source saying it is a troll, I would be suspicious now as well, because having spent a fair bit of time on the internet, you can see things like controversy being orchestrated, and sometimes just trolling in general is just like so obvious. I remember there used to be this trolling thing of like there'd be a picture of I don't know, like Samuel Jackson, and someone would type like, oh look, it's Will Smith, and it's like, nah, you're just trying to make like this idea in people's head that people are that ignorant. And I feel like it's one of those moments where someone's decided to be like, yeah, like let's use this as a trolling opportunity. And then, once you get a tweet going around, once you get an image going around of some fake Twitter account saying, oh my God, Post Malone has discovered Ozzy Osbourne, like that's just going to get some old people irate and get into the little generational bubble of like, oh, these young people today, they don't know Ozzy Osbourne, shaking their stick, that kind of thing. And I think it's absolute troll bait. Because when I first heard that, I immediately, in the back of my mind, went, really? Like, I don't think so. But hey, like I said, I didn't have the time to verify it. Also, Ozzy is getting on. Like, the amount of drugs and crazy stuff that guy's done is amazing he's still alive. And unfortunately, he's had some accidents recently. And, man, like, any day, like, if I wake up and, like, the story in the news is like Ozzy has passed, I just don't feel like I'd be surprised. Obviously, I want him to hang on, He's amazing dude. But, yeah, like, hearing of his injuries and stuff lately, really quite worrying. Because he's getting on a bit. He's been through a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if, his time comes, as sad as it is. Ozzy is fried and has been for years, says Deberged. You can look at him and go, he's a crazy character, and the drugs and all that might have influenced some of that. But, he also got completely sober in recent years and did a lot of exercising and eating right and all of that cool stuff. I saw an interview of him talking about healthy eating, and, just you can tell when people get sucked into this kind of like wave of the healthy information that's available to us today about our diet and what we need to do with our bodies. Do you have a favourite song of Ozzy's, says Drake? Ooh. Probably something off of The Ultimate Sin. That's the record that really grabbed me. I feel like it's just, this is like perfectly placed in the middle here. Brilliant. It's like just the iconic Ozzy sound, and the record where, although you don't have Randy Rhoads playing guitar, it's the record where like his sound comes together so cohesively, and I just love that from start to end. And he's got this song called Shot in the Dark. Oh, my friends crack me up about it, right? So me and my mates got a weird sense of humour, and they love to like rename things to be literal. And so like we're singing the song, shot in the dark, one step away from you, and then they start singing shot in the pitch black. Absolutely creases me up. Now that's probably not going to be funny to anyone, but to me and my mates, that's just our sense of humour. Yeah, shot in the pitch black. Does anyone even find that funny? Did that even make you chuckle remotely, or is that just me and my mates having a weird sense of humour that only us understand? So, crazy Ozzy Osbourne story, right? And I believe, oh my god, do I remember it correctly? Oh, I've got a feeling actually the guy died. It's like the most rock and roll death ever. So if I'm not misremembering things, it's Randy Rhoads, his iconic guitarist, who really helped define the Ozzy sound. It's after a show, they're on tour, they've got tour buses, and they've got access to an aeroplane of all things. And I think Ozzy or Randy has like an aeroplane license, right? But they're doing drugs, they're, totally boozed out of control, and they're being complete idiot rock stars, right? And he gets in the plane, Randy, and Ozzy's sleeping on the tour bus, and he brings the plane down. It's only a little plane, not talking about a Boeing 747, and he brings it down to knock the tour bus and give it a nudge, right? Now you're thinking that's going to go wrong. Oh, this is going to end badly. Well, he nudges the tour bus and wakes up Ozzy, and then he goes around for a second round. And on the second time, he messes up. I don't know what happens, but if he hits the tour bus or not with a plane, using the wheels to give it a nudge, eventually the plane crashes and he died, which is like an absolute crazy rock and roll death story. Now, I wouldn't encourage going out like that. I want to live for many years. My plan is to stay fit and healthy and live until I'm 90 or 100 if I can. I'll take 110, I'm not into that live fast, die young. I'm like live fast and die old. I don't know. Anyway, crazy story, right? And Ozzy's an absolute legend. I love his music, especially with Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, just one of the most influential metal bands, like without a shadow of a doubt. If you're into metal of any kind today, maybe it's a little bit harder to hear with some of the modern bands, right? So there's certain bands that come along that you hear big influences in. So for most modern bands, especially lingering around your more metalcore sound, let's say, that's popular today, you can always hear like a lot of thrash metal lingering on for that, specifically some Metallica and Slayer and whatnot. But then like anything from around the 90s and 80s, like even a band like Pantera, if you've listened to Black Sabbath's discography, at least their first 8 records, you will hear like so many Pantera riffs, and you'll hear prototype Metallica riffs. It's all in their genetic blueprint. What's his name? Their guitarist, absolute legend. Why can't I remember his name? Tony Iommi. I can see his face and everything. It's in all of the stuff. One song of theirs that really reminds me of Pantera is called Into the Void. So if you're a Pantera fan, go check out Into the Void by Black Sabbath, and you'll just hear this like first kind of like sludgy, groovy kind of thing going on the guitar. And that's Tony Iommi just laying the blueprint down for so much of metal. After that, like a lot of the modern stuff is influenced by Metallica, and then you're like, right on the mark right now, the bands that seem to be most popular and up and coming and hype in metal music seem to have taken this absolute influence from the Meshuggah guitar tone. That guitar tone is everywhere now. Like, even pop metal is now using the Djent guitar tone. So, those are 3 kind of big bands, I think. Metallica, Meshuggah, Black Sabbath for like influencing. Gee, I went off on one, right? Ozzy Osbourne, what a legend.